Ron and Clint Howard are both child actor success stories. They started young with parents who encouraged but didn't force them to become actors. They're still doing what they love and remain close. That's why one of them became concerned when the other began walking down a dangerous path. Keep watching to learn why Ron Howard reveals he's frightened for his brother's life. Gene and Rance Howard were simple farmers from Oklahoma. They also had dreams of acting and moved to LA in the 50s. They had 2 children. Ron was born on March 1st, 1954. Clint followed on April 20th, 1959. Rance saw the need for child actors soon after taking the family to LA. He noticed Ron's natural talent and ability to take direction. Ron first started acting when he was 6. He appeared as Opie Taylor on The Andy Griffith Show from 1960 to 68. Clint also found success in shows like Star Trek and Gentle Ben. Parental Influence. The boys remember that their father had a strict and negative upbringing, but brought a gentler form of tough love to them. He would work to make their experiences as child actors into more than a career. Ron said that he would remind them they had a chance to create something valuable. He never pitted them against each other for parts, and they always seemed to get whatever they went out for. The advice he gave sticks with them today. Ron still remembers how much his father emphasized the importance of preparation. The brothers did argue and fight over small things. Clint was jealous when his brother first got a hit show. Their father always stepped in with advice, reminding them that they would value their friendship later in life, which they did. The boys also remember their mother. She would call them sophisticated hicks. Clint admits they picked on her, but valued her unwavering optimism because it encouraged them to follow their dreams. Ron was surprised at how comfortable they were with themselves and the aura of confidence his parents gave off. They knew who they were and that their family was destined for greatness. Clint also doesn't believe the brothers' success ever bothered their father. It was true he never achieved his dreams of being a singing cowboy like Gene Autry because he couldn't sing. At the same time, he didn't see it as competition. The brothers also agree they couldn't have had the career they did without their mother. Gene was a leader who helped guide their way. She also had a relationship with their father that the boys could look up to. Looking back, Clint says he did consider putting acting behind him when he was in his teens. He inherited his mother's love of words and considered being a journalist. It was an alternative option, but he stuck out being an actor and is now an author as well. Ron calls his experience as a child actor a survival story. He believes the business often sets people up to fail and forces them to use formulaic tricks. He's grateful his father never made him do that. He always believed his boys had the emotional intelligence to understand what scenes were about and how to portray characters honestly. Stressful times on happy days. The Howard boys fortunately had parents that didn't force them to compete. That didn't mean they were beyond show business rivalries with other actors. Ron said he would have, quote, benefited from seeing a psychotherapist during his time on Happy Days. Henry Winkler's The Fonz was an early fan favorite and began to eclipse his character, Richie Cunningham. ABC even brought up the idea of renaming the show Fonzie's Happy Days. The stress was too much for Ron, but he kept it all inside until it started to show in his body. He would break out in eczema rashes, and his hair started thinning and coming out in clumps. The situation eventually calmed down when show creator Gary Marshall said he wouldn't change the show's name if Ron didn't support it. Keeping the title didn't affect the success of Happy Days, which ran from 1974 to 84. It spawned 2 spin-offs, Mork and Mindy and Laverne and Shirley, as well as one turnkey, Joni Loves Chachi. It may have invented the term jumping the shark, which refers to a show's drop in quality in later seasons, but it remains one of the world's favorite sitcoms. Ron and Henry remained friends too. They reunited for 1982's Night Shift, which Ron directed. Clint's addictions. The showbiz industry can often lead to addiction, but Clint doesn't blame its influence. He doesn't blame his childhood either. He simply needed to numb his feelings. He started with pot and alcohol and then went to heavier drugs. Clint said there were no early signs of his growing addiction, but Ron disagrees. He regrets that he didn't notice anything. He also regrets that when he did start to see them, he didn't take action. He would tell his parents to, quote, let him live his life when they began to worry. He wishes he'd gone the other way and been a bit tougher to save him pain later. That all changed one day. Ron eventually decided to step up and do what he could. Even though he admits the line is a bit cheesy, he told his brother, quote, "It's one thing to use drugs and another to let drugs use you." Clint says that, quote, "As good as he is as a director, Ron is an even greater older brother. He can't thank him enough for everything he did for him, including casting him in his movies to give him steady work." Clint also thanks his parents for their help and that they didn't back away. They took his keys from him in a gesture of tough love that worked. He also thanks groups like Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon. Clint's first attempts to get sober began in 1984 when he found a treatment program at Beverly Glen Hospital. He tried a few times, but he marks June 14, 1991 as his first official day of sobriety. The new book, The Boys, a memoir of Hollywood and family, is filled with segments from Ron and Clint. It's an honest look into their lives as children and adults. The brothers were inspired to start writing after the death of their father. They remember how clearly he saw the world, looking at his successes and failures honestly and helping them to do the same. Clint says it feels like his hand is still on his shoulder the way he used to do to encourage his sons. Clint says the book gave him a chance to look back on the industry of showbiz. Hindsight helped him see both what was different and what had not changed. He says he grew up in an industry full of grizzled WW2 veterans. It's now a more diverse place, full of college-educated and curious souls. The thing that hasn't changed are the principles of telling a story that reaches and entertains an audience. Ron saw that not all his dreams were meant for him. He thought it was a foregone conclusion that he'd become a director and succeed as an adult actor. He eventually won Academy Awards for A Beautiful Mind, Apollo 13, Cocoon, and Splash. And no matter what, his parents always believed in him. The book doesn't talk much about his early directorial work. It often focuses more on the experiences behind the set. Ron admits that Cindy Williams, his co-star in 1973's American Graffiti, had to teach him how to kiss. They weren't attracted to each other, but he said that she, quote, "taught me how to make out convincingly for the camera without overstepping." There's also an amusing detail about Clint's co-star on Gentle Ben. He said the only negative part about the bear he worked with was his odor. He smelled and took, quote, "prodigious dumps due to his equally prodigious diet." The book doesn't shy away from details about Clint's addiction. It includes details about how he tried to get over it and how his family helped him. Clint also says the book helped bring him and his family closer together. Fans of the Howard brothers can get a new perspective on their life and work from the book. It shows them as full human beings and not only actors and directors. Now it's time to hear from you. Who's your favorite child actor of all time? Let us know in the comments section below.